Alright guys, this is module 2 of the Plumbing 1 class. This is plumbing safety. The objectives: upon completion of this module, you will be able to do the following: describe the common unsafe acts and unsafe conditions that cause accidents, describe how to handle unsafe acts and unsafe conditions, explain how the cost of accidents and illnesses affects everyone on site, demonstrate the use and care of appropriate PPE, identify job site hazardous work specific to plumbers, explain how to work safely in and around a trench, explain how to work safely in and around confined spaces, demonstrate the proper use of ladders, demonstrate how to maintain proper tools safety, describe and demonstrate the lockout tagout process, identify the benefits of job safety analysis. These are some of the things we've already done if you pass my class in the intro, the core curriculum class. And the performance task will include inspect the following PPE, which you've already done. And we'll go through this again: gloves, body harness, hard hat, safety glasses, safety shoes, and hearing protection. And you'll also properly put on that PPE, as well as demonstrate the proper use of ladders, inspect power tools, corded and cordless, inspect hand tools, and simulate the proper methods of lockout, tagout for energy sources. Most plumbing related accident and injuries are caused by worker carelessness, poor safety planning, lack of training, or failure of the employer or employee to follow safety regulations. The first note: unsafe acts often can lead to serious injury and sometimes death. Alright, the next couple of notes kind of start right here. This will be in a figure next page, but the tip of the iceberg represents direct cost, and the larger indirect, you don't have to write the tip of the iceberg, so to speak, but just remember that direct costs are insured. And the next thing to note is indirect cost. One of them are production delays. Write that down. When putting on a hard hat, remember we talked about the webbing of the hard hat, how the hard hat should not actually touch your head, it should be separated by the webbing. Here's a note: at least 1 inch of space between your head and the shell. Alright, we're talking about safety shoes. A lot of workers want to wear steel-toed boots to perhaps prevent some sort of toe injury while working around jackhammers or other heavy machinery. If you're working in and around electrical hazards, you should wear metal-free shoes or boots. This is talking about the positive and negative checks. The first step for performing a positive fit check is adjust the face piece for the best fit, then adjust the head and neck straps to ensure good fit and comfort. Block the exhalation valve with your hand or other material, and then just remember, this is after blocking the exhalation valve. You should breathe out into the mask. Labels, well, just note that the HMIS is a product of MPCA. Type of caution sign, or an example of a caution sign, is do not operate. I think you should remember that. Something we already know, we've already practiced: you should maintain 3 points of contact while using a ladder. Something you may not be aware of, but when you're operating a company-owned vehicle, when you are the driver, you are responsible for all the fines. So just obey all the highway rules. Bladed tools. Alright, when you use a bladed tool, make sure the blade or point are always aimed away from you and others. One good thing to note about extension cords: it's recommended that they're brightly colored to make them more visible. Trench failure. The most common hazard during an excavation is trench failure or cave-in. A couple things we should practice. There must be a minimum of 2 feet between the trench and the soil pile. And another note, a way to make trenches safer. There are several ways to do that, but I think you should remember trench shoring, shielding, and sloping. Alright, lockout and tagout sequence. You can go through here. You can also read this acronym below. Just remember, after you dissipate any energy source, it's the time to verify the test equipment is functional using a known power source. Alright, remember that. And after restoration of energy, remember, replace and reactivate all safety controls. After that, you remove the locks and tags from the isolation switches. just a little pop quiz. Who can remember who should remove those locks and tags? Do you remember? All right, working in confined spaces. Talking about the classifications, there's two terms we typically use when dealing with confined spaces, and that are non-permit required and permit required. When we're talking about atmospheric hazards, typically you think about an oxygen deficient atmosphere, so we'd have to mechanically pump in some oxygen. But there's also a confined space that has too much oxygen, and it's known as oxygen enriched atmosphere. Write that down. And when monitoring those type of confined spaces, or either any type of confined space, if natural ventilation is insufficient, you should use mechanical ventilation. And finally, we're talking about safety. You want to put controls in place. You want to put protective equipment barriers on. But sometimes accidents still do happen. The thing to remember here is it's important to stay calm and immediately tell your supervisor. Alright guys, so that'll do it for Module 2. That is plumbing safety. I hope you've got your own study guide and we can move right along. Thank you so much. We'll see you again soon. Later.